Welcome to the Maine Pod Week. Julia here for a little pre-episode note. This episode is an interview that Nate did with two of the student organizers of the Bates Film Festival, along with their faculty supervisor, Professor Jon Cavallero. The Maine Playweek is proud to be a media sponsor for the 2026 Bates Film Festival. We will be attending some of the screenings, so please say hi if you see us. The Bates Film Festival is May 12th to 17th at venues in both Lewiston and Portland. You can find the full schedule at batesfilmfestival.com. As always, follow all our coverage at themaineplayweek.com and plan your trip to the movies with our new Showtimes website at themaineplayweek.com/showtimes. Email us at hello@themaineplayweek.com to get in touch. And now let's get to the interview.
My name is Jon Cavallero. I'm a professor in the Rhetoric, Film, and Screen Studies Department at Bates, and I'm the founding director of the Bates Film Festival.
I'm Isabella. I'm a member of the Bates class of 2026, and I am a member of the Bates Film Festival board.
I'm Connor Garrity. I'm also class of 2026, and I'm also a member of the board of directors of the Bates Film Festival.
Yeah, and I don't know, Isabella and Connor, how much you might know about our organization. I work with Julia Dunleavy, who's sort of the head of the Maine Playweek. We're two of many folks who work on this organization, and we're basically just like a local film and cinema advocacy group. I don't know if I mentioned this or John mentioned this, but I was class of 2018 at Bates, so nice to be with you guys here. Julia went to Colby, but we won't hold that against her. And
Oh yeah, no.
yeah. So
We totally do. We totally do.
So it's a little bit of a kind of a ever-changing beast until it opens up, huh? Or do you find that a regular feature of the film festival, or has that been something this year?
We have more films this year than we've ever had before. We have like somewhere around 40 films, and
Wow.
usually we have about 25. So uh, that's presented some challenges in terms of scheduling, and when you have different people who are trying to come in and they can only come in at certain times, you have to shift the schedule to meet their
Hmm.
needs. That can jostle things around a little bit, but I think we're getting to a point now where it's ready to go.
That's really exciting. When you
Yeah.
guys are trying to create that programming and create that schedule, is there a central theme that you're trying to build around? Are you looking for features? Are you looking for documentaries? Are you looking for shorts? Are you looking for fiction? Does it vary? How does that all come about?
I mean, yeah, I think I can speak on that a little, um, especially when it came to picking the features and the documentaries and then the shorts. As a class, we were kind of divided into two groups, being the narrative feature-length films and then the documentaries. So we have like weekly film viewings on Thursdays, and we were sort of tasked with watching these films and sort of going through and figuring out what we would want to program, what we wouldn't, which was ultimately left up to us. So Isabel was actually in the documentary group, and then I was in the narrative group.
Oh,
So
awesome.
we were each kind of, slowly kind of cracking down, at this like huge list of films, what to watch. And sometimes it was, usually a film, but some weeks it was two. And then even closer towards the end, it's kind of picking up films here and there that we would want to watch to see like, could this be a contender? Could this not? And in addition to that, for the shorts, we actually both groups ended up watching all of the shorts
Hmm.
that we were, considering programming, or a good chunk of them. And we were we kind of like went through the different lists, like Sundance. Then we went through the Aspen Short Fest list, and we're kind of pulling films that we thought would be interesting or would sort of align with the mission statement of the festival.
Nice.
So we're focusing on the arts, basically, or focusing on the arts and social change is sort of
Okay.
the broad idea of the mission statement.
One of the things that's interesting to note about that, Nate, is like every year that we do this, a new class comes in and they craft the mission statement. So this is something that's specific to 2026 and to this particular group of students.
That's very cool. So you have a new kind of forward thrust each year. And this is the fourth year that it's occurred, is that right?
Yeah, this is our 5th year.
5th year, excuse me.
The first one no, it's fine. We were in 2018 and then 2019, and then 22, 24, 26.
Wow.
We do it every 2 years, and it's always had a social justice focus. The
Mhm.
students, embraced that immediately. That was their idea to make it that, and the students that have come since have continued to kind of keep that torch going. And so this year, they wanted to still do that, but they wanted to find a way to kind of focus on, uh, how the arts can kind of work to bring us together and create I think the phrase they used was mutual understanding and respect.
Hmm.
Uh, so, yeah, that's specific to people like Izzy and Connor here and the other people that were in the class with him.
And I mean, I think that's a vital thing in our culture and in the world right now is mutual understanding. Not always easy to come across. How has it presented itself to you in the films that you've selected, or maybe one of the films that you've picked?
Yeah, I would say, mainly it's funny, like, a trend between both the documentaries and then the narrative and the shorts has been music, at
Huh.
least as a kind of like a guiding thing. Music is kind of pulled forward as this, like, very strong portion of the arts because the arts can be kind of a broader sort of idea. But the music itself is kind of ingrained in film and, you know, it's kind of inherently there, but a lot of our films are based kind of around the idea of music as this sort of guiding force, which is kind of an interesting development as things have gone on because that was not what I was necessarily expecting going into it, especially once because we kind of came across the mission statement was one of the first things that we kind of decided on. So the fact that the music portion was, stayed super strong throughout the whole sort of process, I found interesting.
Yeah, even the short films too, I feel like music has been, like, a pretty common theme with the ones that we've ended up choosing to have shown at the festival.
So when you guys are choosing films, are you said you have your lists and you have your watch days and you're looking at the festivals. Are there films and filmmakers reaching out to you guys, or are you reaching out to them? How does that partnership occur?
Yeah, for the most part, we've been finding the films themselves and then reaching out to the filmmakers. Especially once I had gone through, like we had kind of gotten a shortened list of the films. At least I'm thinking of the short films that we had chosen. And once we kind of got on a shorter list as a class, we had kind of then all reached out and to respective filmmakers and producers and whoever is in charge of the rights, which has kind of been a difficult battle for some
Right.
films. And we've kind of gone through that process of being like, okay, bringing it in. So
And that's mostly true. As the festival's grown, more and more people have started to reach out to us. So there are films in the program this year where a filmmaker brought it to my attention or emailed me.
Hmm.
Or in 2 cases, we had students that were up at SIF this year, and they saw films that they really liked, and they made contact with the filmmakers and told them about the festival, and now those films are gonna be with us as well. So there have been some different paths that people have followed, but it's been exciting to see that growth.
That is really exciting. It's just interesting to, thinking about arts, music, film kind of all coming together. I was looking at the Bates Film Fest website and seeing the faculty who are involved in some way or another. And I had classes with lots of them. I saw Laura Balladur on there and Alex Dozroth, and Tim Dugan was his first year was my last year at Bates. So he's still a very good friend of mine. And some other Sanford Friedman, I think I saw on there, and I took a class with him too. How does sort of that cross discipline input shape the film festival?
I don't like to show things that are just kind of for me. Like the whole idea of a festival for me is making sure that different people get into a room together and are talking about things. And it's especially exciting for me when people who wouldn't normally be in that room together are actually talking to each other. So we started that probably in more robustly in 24. And we've kept it going and basically like we're co-sponsored by about 34 different departments and
Wow.
programs on campus, and whenever I reach out to the programs, whether they end up sponsoring us or not, I always ask them, "Is there anybody that wants to watch anything?" And often they do, and I'll send them a film, and they'll weigh in on how it fits into their curriculum or doesn't. And then that is kind of transferred to the students, and when they make their decisions, they have that in front of them, like that this
Hmm.
has a built-in audience or not on campus.
And Isabella and Connor, are you guys rhetoric majors? Are you guys what are you double majors? What are your major plus twos?
I'm a rhetoric major and a Hispanic studies minor.
And I'm a double major in rhetoric and Asian studies.
Have you felt your own sort of cross-discipline studies impact your involvement in the festival at all?
For sure. Like a lot of the classes that I've taken for my Asian studies major have been like pretty, I guess, like culture focused and kind of bringing like those topics into consideration when thinking about like the mission statement of the film festival and the films that we want to be choosing has definitely like played into that.
Yeah, and kind of adding on to that, at least one professor that comes to mind is Stephanie Pridgeon in the Hispanic Studies department, and she does her own courses in that department on like Spanish film and specifically like Spanish Judeo film.
Huh.
So it's kind of like its own subsect. So she'll be involved in the festival. It's also cool because it's like different departments kind of often touch in film. So it's kind of nice to be able to kind of centralize that in one area on campus.
So as I mentioned as we were doing our introductions, the Maine Playweek is specifically focused on film happening here in Maine. I guess my question is, how much weight do you place on local film, local cinema, if any, and there's no right or wrong answer, when selecting programming for this? Did you see any local films? Did you search any out?
The one that comes to mind, which I feel like was pretty unanimous with us choosing it, was a short film. It's short, but it's like not so short. It's more like 30 plus minute film called Pishai, which is a Maine-based film. I think he's somewhere in the Portland area, if I'm not mistaken. I think John can maybe speak more on his
Yeah,
sort of character,
his
but
name's Steven Jackson, and he's based in Portland. Yeah.
yeah, and that was one of the films that really stood out to us, and I don't know, it just so happened that he happened to be a Maine-based filmmaker, and it kind of made us. It was definitely a role in the decision-making process.
Yeah, and another film that I would say like had a similar, we knew like going into watching it like that there was the connection to Maine was Unless Something Goes Terribly Wrong, which was was part of the documentary group, and so we watched it all together, and the only thing like that we really knew about it like going into it was that it was about like sewage in Portland, Maine, and so before watching it we were all kind of like sewage, like is what's this going to be like? But then like after watching it we were like, "Oh my gosh, like that was so good. Like we have to include it in the festival." And obviously like having the main connection too was definitely like a big part of that as
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
now there's, at least one of those guys is coming to the screening, so it'll be fun to have the person walk off the screen and into the room, for the discussion. We've always had a Maine-based focus, like, we've always had Maine films in our festival going back to the first one. Uh, Last year or 24, We Are the Warriors, Megan Grumbling and David Camlin did. We had Jared Lang's Bay of Herons. We always have Maine films in, but this year, there are a ton of them, and part of that is because we've got a panel that we're gonna do, with Maine filmmakers who live here but have Hollywood careers. So,
I had seen some of the names. I'm
yeah.
an actor down. I was a theater and French double major, class of 2018, and I'm an actor down here in Portland. So I've worked with Dustin Tucker. He is a fantastically talented guy and a super nice guy as well. Matt Delamater, same thing. I saw you guys had him on there, and then Desi Van Til and Sean Mushaw. I actually originally got to know them as regulars at a cafe that I worked at, and then we found out that we were both involved in the arts, and I've gotten a chance to work with them a little bit, but It's great to see those local names. They're all really fantastic folks.
And Xander
Yeah,
Berkeley
Xander
is in
Berkeley.
that list as well,
I've crossed paths with him. I haven't gotten a chance to really get to know him super well, but it's a name I recognize as well.
yeah, and so and then Michael Carita is gonna be around, who's a writer, he's a
cool.
novelist, and he splits time between Bloomington, Indiana, which is where my wife's family is from and where I did my graduate work, and Camden, Maine, and, some of his stuff is getting adapted into screenplays, and he's often writing them. So he's gonna do a thing on the art of adaptation, reading from the novel, then reading from the script, and then we'll show the clip from the film to show how that transition has kind of worked out. And all these folks, because they are so talented, I didn't feel right just kind of having them come and talk. So all of them were showing films that they have done at the festival. So we'll show Tumble Down, and we will show The Maestro, and we will show The Diver, which is a film that Sean did with
Mhm.
Matthew. We'll show American Fiction, which is a movie that
Yep. Dustin's
Dustin
in.
really steals a big scene in. And we'll show things. We'll show Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is the film that um, Michael adapted from his own novel that starred Angelina Jolie and John Berthal. So it's
yeah.
going to be fun. These folks will be around. You can talk to them and figure out what was going on in their minds when they were creating these works of art.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was working on a play with Dustin the winter that I think both Holdovers and American Fiction came out. He had a quick little scene in Holdovers as well. And so he was, up on the big screen, and it's pretty cool to leave the movie theater and then go to a rehearsal with the guy that you just saw up there.
He's so good in American Fiction that the second trailer they did just starts with his scene.
Yeah, I remember that. He got a good amount of attention. Isabella and Connor, I don't know if you guys follow Letterboxd at all, but they do the four faves. And I was wondering if you can't pull four right now, that's totally fine. But are there 1 to 4 movies which have kind of inspired your love and interest in film?
Now, let me think for like a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, and it can even be just now. It doesn't have to be all timers.
I thought you were going to ask him like pick 4 from the festival, and I thought that's not fair.
I thought I was like pulling that, but
I'm glad you have films that have inspired your love of movies.
I will say I have a solid 2. One is more of a joke, but it's kind of real. The first one I will say is The Truman Show.
Great.
The 98 Peter Weir. Love that film. I just wrote my thesis with John actually first semester of this year about that.
Oh, nice.
So that film, I've loved that film for a long time, and it kind of just all the different elements with that, like the surveillance thing is kind of what I pulled on for my thesis, and just kind of that sort of the idea of it pulled me in, and sort of the execution of the film I think was like so well done, and it kind of like was that sort of magical like movie magic thing where it's like whoa. Like the illusion, it had me. So been interested in that in a long time. And a second one that I will die on this hill is the second Terminator movie.
All right.
John does know this about me. When it comes to an action movie, I think it's awesome. I do love a good action movie, and I feel like when it comes to that movie, the practical effects and the CGI for the time and even now, I feel like are fantastic. So those are the 2 films that jump out at me. But I don't know if Isabel has anything. Maybe.
T2 starring Xander Berkeley.
Xander Berkeley, he plays
no
the
way.
stepfather in that film.
Huh.
It's a pretty prominent role too, and it's pretty significant to the plot. But when I heard he was coming, John had mentioned that, and I was like, "There's no way." I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Oh my god, no, he is!" I was like, "He is in this movie."
The first one that came to mind when I was thinking about like what movies have really like inspired, I guess, like or inspired my love of movies and like grown my love of movies overall. The first one that came to mind was The Florida Project. I would say that is one of my favorite movies. Yes.
Any standouts for you, John?
The Godfather is the greatest film ever made.
Sure. I won't argue.
So that The Graduate, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I love Sunset Boulevard.
Nice.
I love La Strada. Yeah, I think and Rashomon's up there too. So those are my top 5 or 6.
There you
And
go.
I go back to them all the time.
Mine, I think right now, and I would have to pull up my letterbox to double check, but I think right now my top 4 are Whiplash, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, um, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and my last one's Rango. The animated feature film Rango is solidly in my top 4.
Why 3 billboards?
Uh, it's a performance thing. This really it's the specificity of Frances McDormand's performance.
Mhm.
There's a moment in the very first 5 minutes of the movie maybe where she chews her fingernail, and she does it in a way. I remember being I saw the movie actually with Kati Vecchi for the
Mhm.
first time in theaters, and I remember I was just floored. I'm a big McDonough guy. I was in The Pillow Man at Bates in 2016. And so I'm just a big fan of Martin McDonough. And I think there's some really awesome performances and some great, like there's a great oneer in Three Billboards as well. So yeah.
You can cut this, but I'm curious, what if we flipped it this way for you as a theater guy? Like, who are the 4 actors that have inspired you?
Oh God. That's a really tough one. Sam Rockwell is one of my favorites. Absolutely. I think he's great. I don't know if you guys have seen Moon, but it's a movie with not one but 2 Sam Rockwells in it. So it's got to be pretty good. It might be a polarizing statement. I'm not that interested by Leonardo DiCaprio as an actor. He doesn't really do a whole lot for me. And yeah, I mean, I think Frances McDormand is fantastic. I'll put her right up there. And then just to name 2 other actors off the top of my head, I got a chance to see a play in New York in the spring of 24. It was called An Enemy of the People. It was adapted from a Henrik Ibsen play.
Mhm.
They're producing it down here in Portland actually this summer, and it starred Michael Imperioli and Jeremy Strong. And they were watching them together on stage was crazy. So the Bates Film Festival, though, is coming right up in May 12th through 17th. Gonna see some documentaries, gonna see some shorts and some full-length features.
That's right.
Gonna get a chance to talk to some local actors, writers, directors here.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely, and we'll be bringing people in from outside of Maine as well, so there should be some robust conversation.
great. And hopefully by the time this goes up, we'll have a full list of programming. Um,
Yeah, and we'll be at the we'll be on the base campus for the first 3 days, and, that everything is free and open to the public, so anybody, as long as they can get to the theater, is welcome, and we hope that people will come out, and enjoy this programming and interact with people, who are having the same experience as them. And Portland will be at the public library, at the Museum of Art, at Space Gallery, at the Portland Media Center, and at Canonic on different days.
nice.
So you can look at the schedule on our website.
Perfect. That's batesfilmfestival.com. Um, what is what's one thing from the festival that you hope people take away?
That's something that's always kind of unpredictable. Like the magic moments of the festival, you don't always see them coming, and it often is audience based. It's somebody in the audience has something to say or has an experience that they're willing to bring into a conversation, and it completely changes the way that you see an issue. And that's happened to me, I think, at every festival we've run.
Hmm.
Um, and we're proud that we put this program together, and we're proud that people come out to see it. But oftentimes, what they bring with them is really where the magic of the festival happens.
That's awesome. I was thinking about what you said earlier, just a moment ago, John, about having that shared experience, and that's kind of what we think at the Maine Playweek is really it's kind of the final touch about the media of film. There's sound and cinematography and direction and acting, but at the end of the day, it's about how you experience that. And I kind of think the best way to experience that is with a group of other people.
Yeah, we do too. And that's one of the things that keeps us doing it.
Yeah.
And truthfully, like, I've got a lot of friends that come to the festival, and somehow I feel like I understand them a little or know them a little bit better. after we've watched a movie together and talked about it. And sometimes I learn things about them that I didn't know before because the conversation that follows, either based on a panel discussion or based on the film itself, uh, opens up doors that hadn't been opened before. And so the more people we get out, the more likely that is to happen, and the better we all start to understand each other, and maybe that does some good in the world.
Mutual understanding, right? That's what this
Exactly.
year's programming is all about.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, congratulations, guys. I'm excited to see the full list of things that are coming out. And thank you so much for taking some time out of your night and chatting to us about this.
Thank you, Nate. This has been fun.
Hey, this is awesome, guys. Again, we're the Maine Playweek. If you guys are interested in looking at that, we're on Instagram, we're on Substack. We have a podcast called The Maine Pod Week we put out, and then it's showtimes.themaineplayweek.com for our Showtimes page if you guys are curious to see what else is playing around in the state. But I think unless you guys have anything that you want to say to snag people and get them to come see things, I think those are all the questions I got for you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Hey, thank you guys for working with us. It's pretty cool to be a media sponsor.
Yeah, it's a really cool experience to have been a part of. And I'm really excited that we're going to have the chance to share these films with a larger audience.
Well, thank you again so much, guys. Best of luck in this last stretch. And congratulations on senior year for you guys. And I hope to cross paths with you in person.
Sounds good, Nate.
Take care, guys. Have a good night. The Maine Pod Week is hosted by Nate Stevenson and Julia Dunleavy, and edited and produced by Nate Stevenson. Social media video is produced by Nick Brown, and music is created by Peter Coleman. The podcast is a project of the Maine Playweek, a new media publication covering the moviegoing experience here in Maine. You can support our coverage financially by becoming a paid subscriber to our Substack at themaineplayweek.substack.com/subscribe. Send your ideas, questions, or other musings to hello@themaineplayweek.com, and follow us at The Maine Playweek on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Substack. Learn more at themaineplayweek.com. But most importantly, tell your movie-loving friends that we're here, and we'll see you at the cinema.